Otherwise, over to you, Fran. I'm going to leave you to it if that's all right.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. Welcome everybody to part two of member experience. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a sports instructor of one form and another for over 30 years now. I've spent 15 years in formal education as a teacher educator, and a researcher focusing on how to support teachers to make meaningful changes in what they do. And for the past 5 years or so, I've been applying that same approach in the CrossFit space, working with coaches and affiliate owners to develop their coaching teams and leadership. So, in part one, we looked at the member experience itself, what members actually want from a class and what keeps them coming back. We also touched on the idea that if we put the members in the center of what we do, understand what they want, and develop our coaches to deliver that, then we're going to stop trying to fill the leaky membership bucket with just adding more leads in. We're actually going to start fixing what's causing people to leave. So today we're going to build on that. So we're going to have a look at how we can help our coaches deliver that experience consistently across classes and across people. So quick recap in part one. This is what we discussed, what members wanted. Now, they want to be safe. So they want to be able to go to work the next day. They want to feel like they can be the person who they are on the floor. And they also want class to be on time. They have probably negotiated with somebody or planned into their day that this is their hour to do this thing. And so we should respect it. Members want to be seen. It's a natural human need to be seen within a group, whether that means a full conversation, a full check in about how they're doing, or simply a nod or use of their name. They all want to be seen in one form or another. They also come to the class to move. They do not come to listen to a 20-minute whiteboard brief about, triple extension. They want to move. And I've put in brackets well, to move well, because as coaches, we want them to move well. They want to improve. They want to leave feeling satisfied, whatever the goals are for the day. And a lot of them, they find the atmosphere really important, whether it's the music or jokes or whatever it might be. And this is the challenging part. Every single member has different priorities when it comes to this list of wants. And to make it even more challenging, these priorities change from day to day, which means as coaches, as affiliate owners, we have to do our best to make sure we hit all of these points every single class consistently. Because members don't experience good coaching, they experience feeling seen, they experience feeling safe and improving. So, if we want to improve the member experience, we need to translate this list of experiences members want into what coaches actually do. So, now I have a question for you. If I walked into 3 different classes in your affiliate this week, would those members' needs be met every time? Now, not in the same style, not with the same personality, but the same experience. Will every member feel seen in every class? Will every member feel safe in every class? For a lot of affiliates, the answer is no. And it's not because the coaches don't care, and it's not because you don't care as owners either. And it's not because they don't know what to do. It's because it just doesn't happen consistently. And this is where many development approaches fall short because they assume if a coach knows what to do, they will do it in every class. But that's not how human behavior works. What drives behavioral change is clarity, is repetition, it's feedback. So if we want more consistency, we can't just hope that it will happen. We need to be much more intentional about what we expect and how we help coaches get there. This then brings up a topic that we call coaching practices. So when we want consistency, we don't want the same style, but we want the same member experience. And we need to get much clearer what actually drives that. And very simply, coaching practices are what coaches actually do in a class, not what they think, not what they plan, not their personality, what they do, what we can see that they do, what we can hear that they do, because that's what creates the experience for the member. If we want consistency, we then need to be very clear about what coaching practices create that. Now, this is where people often get a bit uncomfortable. They get a bit worried that coaching becomes robotic or scripted if we define what these coaching practices are, but it doesn't. Creating clarity creates consistency, not rigidity. We want to be clear about what needs to happen, not how it has to happen. For example, the what could be every coach needs to check in with a member. How they do it, that's up to them because we're not standardizing how it looks, we're standardizing what it achieves. The goal is not say the same thing, the goal is the member experiences the same thing. So, consistency does not mean treating everyone the same. It means consistently meeting people where they are in that moment. Now, you didn't come here just to listen to me talking to you. So, we're going to have a couple of activities. And this is the first one. I want you to focus on these three wants from members being seen, move well, safe, and on time. And your task is simple. I want you to write down as many different coaching practices that you can think of that will deliver on these things that a coach can actually do to make these happen. Remember, this is something that you can see or you can hear. So it shouldn't be, oh, coach is motivating or have good energy or be prepared. They should be actionable items like, oh, a member uses a member's name, starts and ends within a minute of class. Yeah. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write down for yourself as many things that you can think of that coaches can do to give this experience. I'm going to give you 1 more minute, guys. Just try and write down as much as possible. Okay. So, what I'd like to do is open it up to the floor. Who would like to share some of the things that they have written down that they believe coaches can do to make these things happen? Laura, this is where I need your help because I can't see any hands going up or anything like that. Oh,
I
you
can
can
There
go
we
start
go.
yourself.
first.
Ah, brilliant.
You got it, guys. Yeah, you got it. Feel free to unmute yourself. I'm sure we're all adults and won't talk over each other.
I usually what I would start with is people as soon as they walk in, I just sort of say, "How was your day?" so I can assess their mood, like, and just has anything happened today? How are we feeling? And that's usually my first step.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Do you have anything else written down, Nicola?
Oh, I've got lots.
Yeah, well, share
I
them
also
because
put
that's what we're
down
here for.
okay. I also put down. I said like I always watch the warm up. I don't talk too much during warm up. I get them moving, and that sort of will give me sort of idea of like who's kind of half asleep, who's on the ball, who's moving well, and who's not as well. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that fits into that category, but that's something that I sort of thought. And then the other thing is like when I know it's often called that we have to call out short cues to make sure everyone's listening. Like, but I usually will then I'll call it out, but also address a name. So like keep your arms straight, like loose. Dan, what are you doing? You know, like what's happened with your arms? So like everyone hears the short cue, but then also someone sort of is alerted that, hey, I'm one of those people that she's calling out, I guess. And I guess the other one I put down was sometimes if I'm, especially with Spotify being a pain in the bum as it is, I always sort of ask, does anyone have a music vibe for the day? Because it differs between the morning and the evening, I find as well.
Mhm. I like that, Nicola.
Yeah.
Who else would
Okay.
like to share what they've written down?
Well, I don't mind. I'll go.
Thanks, Julia.
Hi. So I put, yeah, remembering people's names and greeting them by name as soon as they come in.
Hmm.
At my gym, we always put people in pairs because that helps to eliminate like social barriers, and it also shows that you thought about your class planning. Remembering like people's injuries, as well as like how much they can lift or what they're like where they're at with like a certain ability or like a skill, so that again it shows that you thought about like each individual person rather than just planning the class as a whole. In terms of like movement, whilst we still want to explain good movement and make sure people are moving well, we want to also tell them like why we're doing a certain movement, so without talking too much. And then in things like being safe and on time, but obviously a class plan is really important, and we should be doing that every time. But we should also think about things that can go wrong. So what could potentially happen in that time, so that you kind of plan, you know, we always plan for like a perfect class, but that never really happened. So we want to also actually plan for the things that might derail us and where we'd be able to like make up that time or how we would adapt in that situation as well.
How could you see that another coach has a plan B? How could we observe that?
So if something goes wrong, they it's it almost doesn't look like it goes wrong. Does that make sense? So it's
Hmm.
like if someone's put a rower in the wrong place or the kit doesn't look quite right, the coach will just go over it and almost like say nothing unless if it's like part of the whole class. But if you're evaluating that coach, like you know that oh they meant to do this, but actually that's something that wasn't intended, but they've just gone with the flow, and the coach doesn't look stressed at all. They've handled it really well. The member experience is also just really seamless.
Hmm. Nice. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Julia?
That's what
I'm
that's
sure
what
you have a huge list.
no, no, no.
Okay. Who would like to share next?
I'm not sure. Can you hear me? No?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah,
it
we
says
can.
here that we can't, you can't. Okay, so we call them by their name, and I always try to comment on their progress, like not even just within the class, but also within the last month or whatever they were working on. So if you see anything on progress, always comment on it, whether it's small or nothing. Um, Also, we give a lot of feedback for moving and scale accordingly. Like tell them if this and this won't work, we can always go back. So show them that you have a plan for them, even in advance. Um, for save and be on time, have the class set up already, maybe if that's possible, or tell them exactly where you want them to put the barbells or the stuff, so they know that you have a plan for where on the floor everything goes. And always make sure to return every equipment that isn't in use, so they are safe, so they won't stumble over stuff. So you take care of the things that you can take care of and make sure that they have enough space. Today was a good example. We practiced bailouts because we had one iron back squats today. So I made sure everybody knew how to do that if they hadn't before. So they had done it at least once. Um, and if I do go over in class, I tell them we're going to be over by. Does anybody need me to take them out of the class? If something happens unexpectedly and I need some more time somewhere else, I always make sure that the people who have to get out at exactly 7:00, that they know that I will take them out if they need to.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else like to share?
I'll jump in. We always try to when it comes to time management, make sure that's effective. So that's effective time management. So we're getting the most out of that hour as we can. Like you mentioned, not a 20-minute whiteboard brief where I explain how much I know about back squats and you all stand there getting cold. Predicting the needs and wants of the members. So if you can turn up with the 5 kilo plate that you think they're going to need before they have to go and wander to the other side of the room to get it. And then someone's touched on it already. I think it might have been Julia. Expecting the obstacles and having preparations on how to overcome them quickly and effectively. So if you know you've got someone coming in who maybe has a little bit of a dicky shoulder, beating them to the punch of like, oh man, my shoulder's a bit sore. I can't do toes to bar today. Hey, Fran, I know your shoulder was sore from yesterday. So what we're going to do is this scale in this workout for this reason. How does that sound? I think if you remember those things, it really makes people feel loved and cared for because you've gone that little bit above and beyond for them.
Yeah, I like that, Cara. Now, Andy, I'm going to ask you because I know you have a whole washing list of stuff.
Yeah, I try and make the washing list as concise as possible nowadays. Um, I guess in terms of coaching practices, in regards to the team that which we have at my affiliate, it's to get people from A to B as effectively and efficiently as possible. And the thing that we're kind of focusing in on at the moment is understanding the stimulus as best as we can so that the coaches can basically plan for everyone who comes in through the door. So using the system that we have, because we've one of our software, we can see the name in advance. So the coaches are already pre-set in terms of who might be coming up, the scaling options that they're going to use. So it just basically feels like it's well rehearsed practice and effortless. So that I guess the clients and the members coming in, it's almost like the swan kind of scenario. Their interactions with the coach is nice and seamless, but behind the scenes, the coach has done quite a little bit of work in order to get that to that position. But
Mhm.
obviously, it's not going to be perfect. So, like minimum requirements that we are always trying to um, deliver on based on the principles which you got is like know someone's name, say it often, and then just making sure that they are moving safe. Bearing in mind that we're trying to have practices for a level 1 and a level 3. So then it just comes down
Mhm.
to expectation, which we want on each trainer then.
Yeah, nice. Is there anybody else who'd like to share anything? I think a couple of things to think about is obviously to be seen. It could be that you have a check-in moment in the class as such, where there's a social check-in or it's a goal check-in, something like that. To move and move well. I think, yeah, I think Gareth also said it. It's like maybe your whiteboard brief has to be a maximum of 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Yeah. Or that, there's a maximum certain amount of time of transitioning between one section of the class to the other section of the class. To move and move well, maybe you have to say, well, I expect the coaches to have at least one point of performance or focus that they tell the class that they are going to look at today and work on. To be safe and on time, it was already mentioned about floor plans and having movement set up, and on time it's like, okay, maybe the coach uses the countdown timer during the WOD prep or the test round to make sure everybody knows, okay, when this reaches 0, we're going to start our workout for today. So these are all different coaching practices that can be used to help members gain the experience that they want. So we've now made a list of quite a few practices. And that's exactly what we want. We want a good idea of all the different things coaches can do to help with our members. But it's a lot of things to improve at one moment in time. And as Andy was saying, you need to set expectations for your level 1, level 2, level 3, or whatever you want to call your coaches in your group. Because we know this, people don't improve by focusing on everything at the same time. They improve when there's clarity, focus, and repetition. So in this next step, what I'm going to ask you to do is to go from everything that you've heard to deciding what actually matters the most. So if there were only 5 things have 5 coaching practices that you're going to make high priority. What would they be? Yeah. And these high priority coaching practices are your minimum standard. These are the things a coach must be able to do before they are fully responsible for a class. So force yourself to choose what really matters most. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. Just come up with a list of your 5 high priority coaching practices.
Farran, can I ask you something? Would it be
Of
like
course, Mita.
sorry, thanks. Would it be like what you want to change now or what you want to focus on now? Or just
No,
these are my 5 priorities in the
these
box?
are the 5 things I need a coach to do in every class before I allow them to be responsible for that class.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you another 30 seconds or so. Okay, so first thing I'd like to say here, there are no right or wrong answers. These are your 5 things, 5 high priority coaching practices for your affiliate and your members. So maybe I set something as a high priority, but that wouldn't work for your members. So there's no judgment here. But I would be really interested if somebody would like to share what their high priority coaching practices are. Who would like to start?
Okay.
Oh, I don't mind.
Julia,
Okay,
let's start with you.
okay.
Yeah,
Did you say Julia?
I did.
Okay, sorry. I put number 1 is someone's introduction to the class or to the gym. So it should be literally as soon as they walk through the door, they are welcomed straight away, whether that's by you or any other staff member or coach. Your class should, or you should have an appropriate class plan with all of your potential adaptations and predicting what can or may happen or go wrong. Finishing on time.
Julia, Julia, I'm just going to interrupt you there. What do you mean by have a plan? Does it have to be physically written down that they can show it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just trying to make it as explicit as possible.
Yeah, of course. Yes, so it should be written down, not in your head. And we should be able to teach movement simply and safely. So I think this is kind of like at the base level because we don't want to overcomplicate things. It's really easy to, have new coaches just waffle on because they want to get all of that information out there, but it just needs to be done very basically. And then I put they should be able to correct movement at a basic level if they're like a newer coach.
Great. I think as you said it, you probably thought, oh, I need to define this a bit better. Yeah. So what do you mean? Yeah, but this is why we go through these loops. Okay, well, what do we mean by teaching simply? What do we mean by basic correction and things like that? Because the more explicit we are in what it is, the easier it is for a coach to do it. It's like if we tell a member, oh, I want you to create tension. Oh, I want you to break the bar. Okay, that's something that they can definitely do. And they can give you feedback on, yeah, I've been trying to break the bar. Thank you for that, Julia. Who would like to join next? Share next.
I can go next. I'll sort of just go through my sort of base of how I sort of my importance. It's not everything because I think that last part and everyone was saying stuff. I was like, oh yeah, that's what we do, and I feel like we do a lot of stuff without even thinking about what we're doing sometimes. For a coach, what I we'd always want is that people make the effort to know people's names. That is so, so, so important. I've seen coaches come in before and be like, oh, I don't know who you are. I can't remember your name. And do it like multiple times before. And it really detracts the mood. So that would be my number one first one. Whether they've got to read it off the list and sort of make that visual marker. I was at a club once where they had photos so that people could actually, all new members were made to have a photo come up for their check-in so that people could actually make that thing. So if they were really bad with names, they could help with that. My second thing then would be the setup of the room, which happens during warm-up. So sort of explaining, we're warming up to do this today. Make sure you put your boxes here or put your barbells in this way, in a way that then makes it safe. The next thing I do is during warm-up is I address the people who I know who are injured and say, this is coming up. What are we going to sub in? What are we going to change out for this? My fourth important thing would be like then knowing what the workout's intent is. So not having to spend 20 minutes whiteboard, but just saying to them, hey, today is going to be a very high intensity, or today we want to have a long, slow burn. And just making sure they're really clear on what they're trying to hit, whether it is during the strength part or the WOD. And then the last thing is just something that comes over time is just knowing what your members are capable of. And that comes down to their movement patterns as well as their ability. So sometimes if you see them putting on too much on the bar, or they go not to get a band for their pull-ups, and you sort of say, well, hang on, do you feel like you do need to scale these pull-ups down because there's actually 60 of them in the WOD? And I know you don't have that capacity. And just making sure that before they start the workout, they're set up for success and not setting up to sort of end up in a world of pain as well. And I think that would be my top 5 as like an essential without all the other stuff around.
Yeah, nice, Nicola. Anybody else like to share their top 5?
I'm just going to jump in there because you've really got me thinking. As always, Farran, it breaks down into 2 things: leadership and logistics. And I think I can't put one before the other. And the reason being is that if you can project yourself, use names, make people feel welcome, and project, people are going to follow along, and you're going to make them feel safe. And so on and so forth. But then with the logistics stuff, it's more of the back end, the education, that if you know where you need to be at a given time, what the stimulus is that everyone has to achieve, and you try and break it down into a simplest element, basically, that person's going to have the best experience. So it's, I've got leadership would be use of names and presence, basically projection. And then on the logistics side, you've got safety, stimulus, and keep it simple. So always
So I'm going to be,
go on.
so I'm just going to be a bit more detailed, because presence and projection can be quite subjective. So how could you describe it in such a way that it was actually measurable?
Okay, so for example, if we link it up with the names, our trainers have to connect with a member, every single member in our class, before the workout starts. For example, we regularly have class of 25 plus. Okay, so again, that's why I've given them a little bit more breathing space. But if we follow in regards to the education syllabus within CrossFit, so let's say we're working to a maximum for 12, I would expect that to be done and boxed off with a cue within a general warm-up. So again,
that's fair.
Yeah, giving it in terms of scalability across a level 1 to a level 3, the expectation and demand on those people for, let's say, projection or presence is right. Well, you're a level 3. I expect you to have done all that by this point. Whereas on a level 1, someone who's still learning, they've got a longer period of time. Let's say less pressure. I don't know.
No, that's fair enough. No, it's good, because these high priorities we should think of, this is what we expect a coach to be able to do at the bare minimum. Yeah. To be able to deliver an acceptable member experience as such. Yeah. And I think that's where how more explicit we are with what this expectation is, what this coaching practice is, the easier it is for the coach in the end to develop that skill and to do it each single time in the class. So thanks, Andy. Then what I was just saying, so high priority coaching practices are, as I was saying, what has to happen in every single class to deliver a consistent member experience. And this is the key shift. Okay. This is not what great coaches do. This is the baseline. This is what must happen in every single class for members to have a consistent experience. And if a coach cannot consistently do this in every class, they probably should not be fully responsible for that class. Now, this is not about being harsh. This is about being clear. It's about being clear for you as an owner, clear for your coaches, as in your expectations, but also clear for your members so that they know what they're going to get when they walk in the door. And as Denise Thomas often says, being clear is being kind. Yeah. If we're not clear, then we end up blindsiding our coaches. We end up failing our members in what we promise to deliver them. And it creates a whole atmosphere of people being unsure and unhappy. And as Andy was saying about, the different levels as such. So what we looked at so far was those high priority coaching practices, the minimum standard. That is what is needed for creating a consistent member experience. And these things should be happening in every class. But from there, we can start to build. You can look at medium priority coaching practices. And that's what creates an even better member experience. And finally, low priority coaching practices, and that's what creates an exceptional member experience. So over time, this becomes a pathway, not just to develop coaches for making sure they deliver the high and then the medium and then the low priority coaching practices, but it's also a way for improving the member experience step by step. Because now you're not going to try and improve everything at once. You're clear on what comes first and what comes next. So then, just to bring it back to your own affiliate, based on what you've just defined, do your members get that consistent experience in every class? Now, not sometimes, not on a good day, but in every class. Because that's what your high priority coaching practices, your minimum standard, is there to create. Now, for a lot of affiliates, there's a gap here. And again, it's not because coaches don't care, and it's not because they don't know what to do. It's just because it doesn't show up consistently. And that's exactly what impacts the member experience. So why does this gap exist? Well, where a lot of affiliates struggle is because knowing something doesn't automatically lead to doing something. We assume that experience will fix it, that time will fix it. But experience without direction just reinforces habits, whether they're good or bad. And that's why you can have an experienced coaches still delivering inconsistent member experience. So if we want consistency, we have to be much more intentional about how we develop it over time. And so here are some common mistakes I see in affiliates. And it's first is turning the coaching practices into a checklist, as in, did they do it? Yes or no? And we lose the real question of, did what they do actually help the member? Second, we treat one observation as the truth. You can see one class and make a judgment, but that's just a snapshot. It's a sample, not the full picture. And the third one, and this is the one I see really stand in the way of a lot of affiliates developing their coaches, is confusing evaluation with development. Now, evaluation tells you what happened. It doesn't tell you how to improve. It's like testing a max pull-up. You get a number, but it doesn't tell you how to get better. And this is the key shift I want you to take, is that if your goal is to evaluate, the coach will perform in that moment. If your goal is to develop, the coach will learn, change their coaching practices, and develop and deliver an exceptional member experience over time. So this is what most development still looks like. A coach is observed, they're told what to fix, and then move on. And we expect improvement. But being told a list of things doesn't mean that you can apply, that you can or you will apply. It's just getting more information. And true learning happens in a different way. So coaches learn, anybody changing their behavior, including coaches, it's a lot messier cycle to it. First of all, they don't just take ideas and apply them perfectly. A coach first filters an idea that they're being told, and they think, well, does this make sense to me as a coach? Would this work for my class? My dog wants to say hello. Would it work for my class? And then they try it out. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But here's the important part. If they don't reflect on what happened, why it worked, or why it didn't work, they're less likely to try it again. And if they don't try it again, it never becomes a habit. So learning doesn't just happen with trying. It happens with reflecting and trying again. And that's what actually changes behavior over time. But if this is how coaches actually learn, trying, reflecting, repeating, then the question becomes, what do they need from you for that to actually happen? What they need is clarity. What to focus on. They need space so that they can actually try this out in the class. They need to feel safe, that they're allowed to get it wrong, that they're allowed to mess up. Because if a coach feels judged or evaluated, they're never going to try out anything new. They won't experiment, and the development loop breaks. They also need feedback. Now, not a list of everything you saw, just direction on what matters most right now. And finally, reflection. If you do not encourage your members, your coaches to reflect, they're unlikely to try it again, and it will never become a habit. And ultimately, that's the goal. Not just that a coach can do something once, but that it becomes part of how they coach without having to think about it. And just like with movement, you don't fix everything at once. You need to fix the most important thing right now. Because if you give a coach a list of 5 things or 10 things, nothing's going to stick, nothing's going to be tried. But if you give them one clear focus and support it over time, the behavior will change and they will improve because they will try it, they will reflect on it, and they'll try it again. And it becomes a habit. So this is where we want coaches to transition from thinking, oh, I should do this, to actually just doing it without thinking it. And Nicola made the point earlier that there's a lot of stuff we do as coaches that we don't think about anymore because they've become habits for us. And we want to help other coaches develop those habits. And that's where we have to be explicit and really clear with what we think those coaching practices are. Let's bring it back to what matters, and that's the member experience, because everything we've talked about today, whether it's coaching practices, minimum standards, developing coaches, is all about our members getting an experience in every class that makes them come back for the next, because that's what your minimum standard is there to protect. What must happen in every class to deliver that consistent member experience to make sure they keep coming back. So when you're developing your coaches, the question is not, did they do it? The question is, did it help the member? And that's the shift. And this is where we have to be careful because we can focus a lot on what coaches are doing, what they're teaching, what they're correcting, how they're managing the class, but we forget something that's just as important, who they are coaching. Because the goal is not just about delivering the plan or ticking the boxes. It's about delivering in a way that works for the person in front of them. And the same applies for developing coaches. It's not just what does that coach need to improve, it's, well, who they are. How do they learn best? What are they ready for? Because if you ignore that, even the right ideas and right guidance won't stick. Now, let's bring this back to you and your affiliate. We all have the habit of collecting ideas and knowledge, but it is useless unless we put it into action. So maybe there are a couple of things that you've heard from today that you could do, but I'd like you to do, but if you do all of them, you're not likely to do any of them. So I want you to pick one thing, something that stood out, something that feels relevant to your gym right now. And I want you to make it real. I want you to write down for yourself what you're going to do, who's involved, and when it will happen. And be specific. And maybe for some of you, that's defining a minimum standard, the minimum coaching practices. Maybe you're planning to do this with your team, that you all come up with this list together. It could be that you observe for feedback rather than evaluation. So whatever has come to mind, write it down and make sure it's actionable. And if you don't decide when this will happen, you know yourselves, it probably won't happen. Just going to give you 30 seconds to write that down. I'm not going to ask you to share it with us. This is you making a commitment to yourself to try and use what you've learned today to support your affiliate and support your coaches. Okay. Let's close with this. Everything we've talked about today, minimum standard, coaching practices, how coaches learn, it all comes down to this. What gets observed gets done. What gets fed back gets done well. And what gets reinforced gets repeated. So if you want a more consistent member experience, you need to be clear about what must happen in every class. You need to observe it, you need to give feedback on it, and you need to reinforce it over time. And that's what creates consistency, not intention, not experience, but consistent action. And that's what your members will feel every time they walk into your gym. They will find this they will feel this consistent action. So, where to go from here? If you want to dive really deep and nerd out in this any further, I do run an advanced course, the Coach Developer Program. We go much deeper into understanding how people learn and developing coaches, building systems, creating consistently over time. You can find out more information on my website, virtuouscoach.nl, or reach out to me via Instagram. But everything we've talked about today only really works if we understand people, both our members and our coaches. So if you want a simple starting point, I've put together a free ebook, Psychology 101 for Coaches. Now, it gives you some practical insights into things like motivation, how people learn, and how to coach them more effectively. You can scan the QR code there and grab it for free. And if you want to chat about anything we covered today, I'm always happy to have a conversation. Just reach out. But also, don't just learn from me. Reach out to other coaches, to other owners, share ideas, ask questions, learn from each other, because that's how we build a stronger and healthier coaching ecosystem for everybody, not just ourselves, but also our members. Any questions? No questions?
Yeah, I can't see any in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself, guys, if you've got anything you'd like to ask.
Or a comment or anything? Well, if there are any questions and they come to your mind in the next hours or days or weeks, feel free to reach out and contact me. So thank you everyone for participating today. And thank you, Gareth and Andy, for having me on.
Of course, thank you. Guys, I'll pop this recording into the UK WhatsApp community. So if anyone needs it afterwards, feel free. If you do have any questions, you can either reach out or come to me or Andy directly, and we'll be able to signpost you towards assistance.
Thank you. That's really useful.
Well, actually, this.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to leave, see what happens.
Yeah, I think Lawley might be frozen because I know she was on the train, so
Yeah, she is.
it
But
looks
Andy
like
and Gareth, when do you want to chat about June, or do you want to chat about June?
Yeah, we're finalizing it. It's going to be coaching focused. Once we've got something a little bit more substantial, we'll get back to you. But
Yeah,
in terms of the date, it's in London. We're going to be doing it at an affiliate, and the date is the 26th and 27th, I believe.
yeah, cool. Just let me know. I'll see if I can get over there to you because I would love to help out as such.
Cool.
Yeah.
How's the level 4 going?
I was talking to Craig about it. It's going. It's going. Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting experience, and I'm very lucky to have DT as my assessor as such. So good chats. Yeah. How are you finding it from the other side, Andy?
Um, Insightful, very insightful. Because I think do you know the Clara? I can't remember that. I've got a Dutch lady I'm working with. I know Wes knows I'm working with her. Um, I can't remember. Can't remember. You must know all the level threes in Holland.
I do. I do.
So,
But not everybody is set. Not everyone is open about following this thing. So,
well, I guess I like the format. Gareth's obviously doing it such as yourself as, and
mhm.
it's finding out. I had the conversation with Gareth a little bit earlier in regards to I guess the biggest thing that we want people to do is to be reflective on the whole process because
Yeah.
it enables and helps, and being reflective in terms of people only know what they know. And then our job assessors is basically to unlock the next level of being able to assess what it is that you might be or might not do in following the
Mhm.
syllabus. Um, you know, it has been really good actually. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Gareth, how have you found it? How far into it are you?
I've got my final class to submit and then the evaluation after that call. So I've got one class, one
Mhm.
call, and then evaluation. Um, I think I would summarize it the same way that I would say anyone who goes through their L3, you'll become a better coach by going through the process regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
Um,
110% agree with that. Yeah.
it's it's good to I think it's just good to always strive for more. It's one of our values here. So, like for me personally, I love
Mhm.
having something to learn, have something to suck my teeth into. Um, is there things that could be a bit different, maybe? But it's also it's only the second version of it. I think I could see it evolving a little bit over the years with some feedback
Yeah.
from, mass participation and stuff like that. But it's enjoyable. I'm enjoying it. It's good.
Yeah.
I
No, me
said,
too. And I'm enjoying the fact that it's giving me an excuse, for want of a better word, to do better.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I think
Because we all get stuck into our habits and doing things and stuff a certain way. So it's good to be put a bit of extra load on the barbell, coaching barbell as such.
yeah, yeah, and I think for the team here, it's for years I've been hampering them like, right, just record that part of your class and watch it back. You don't need me to sit with a clipboard, exactly like you've just discussed and evaluate, all right? So because they've seen me with a camera in the room, they're like, oh, yeah,
Oh,
I'll do
okay.
that. And then me and Andy were talking about this morning. You can watch your own video back and go, well, that was shit, that was shit, that was shit, that was
Yeah,
shit. Right, I'm going to do it again. Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, it's good.
I no, I, I think the more other coaches see coaches filming their classes, the easier it becomes, and the members get used to it as well.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I will say there is a challenge. I have a challenge because first of all, I normally coach in Dutch, so now everything has to be recorded in English. So not all my members want to be coached in English, and not all my members want to be on video. So
Yeah.
it's like
It
it is
would
a challenge.
logistically it would be easier if I could just go right 4 p.m. camera on, let's go.
Yeah, no
I do have
discussions.
to kind of arrange it a little bit to be in that
Mhm.
parameter of is it 4 to 10 or 4 to 12 people, and
Yeah, for
um,
it to, yeah.
something like
Oh,
that.
it's
So yeah,
okay. It's all, that's just the logistics part, as Andy would say. So,
yeah.
yeah, no. Good luck with the last bits and pieces with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I did feel. I told Andy earlier. I did film my final class like 3 days before Adele went into labor, and you can just tell in the whole class because Adele was in the gym because at that point she was overdue. We weren't leaving each other. You could just see me the whole time through the class, like
Checking.
checking her and missing stuff. So I just deleted it, reviewed it, deleted it, going to do it again, kind of thing.
But
Um,
that's already a win that you
Like,
reviewed it and went, this is not good enough.
yeah,
it's like burning the
How
book. Boop. We've got to do it again.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
That whole process of just doing things consistently and trying to embed that. Um, and again, from an assessor perspective, it's the first time in a long time people may have had any form of feedback, and so
Yeah.
it's a lot of unpacking and trying to remind ourselves in terms of the six key criteria for effective coaching within the CrossFit syllabus, and reasserting that at the forefront of our practice, etc.
Mhm.
Specifically in what I was saying to Gareth is that teaching doesn't necessarily seem to be the issue that I'm seeing, because everyone's got the education behind them and the articulation and in inverted commas the intelligence in when they're doing that. It's just the consistency of the teaching scene and correcting element, and just
Mhm.
themselves into that correct areas, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
does indeed.
yeah, good luck. So
Mhm.
you've got one more as well, is that right?
I've just submitted my last one for Denise. I recorded it yesterday. I'd spent 2.5 hours uploading it. I don't know what was going on with my phone, but my phone was not happy. But yeah, and then but I think I was saying to Gareth, I'm off to Ireland for a couple of weeks, visit family. So I think the evaluation one will have to wait until May. But
Yeah,
lots to think about and reflect on. So
yeah. Where you going to Ireland?
Dublin.
Dublin. You're gonna do a couple of drop-ins.
Probably. Maybe to Leak Slip and a couple of others and a couple of non-affiliated gyms as well. So, but yeah, it's it's. I think we've had. I mean, the fact that there's two boxes right beside each other who don't even talk to each other still blows my mind. But anyway,
Dublin's odd that way. I'm working with a mentor in the gym out there at the moment, and yeah, I find it a bit odd how there isn't the open channels of communication that there could be.
no, it's very much so. All the walls are built up very high,
Yeah.
which is a pity. Yeah.
Big personalities in Ireland. There we are. Sort of thing.
Just this, Andy, there's big personalities everywhere.
So I know this is as this is still being recorded, I've got to make sure. Yeah, we got that. Make yeah, Ireland is something where there's a lot of long-standing affiliates, and again, there's an element of just trying to break down a couple of barriers that have been built up over the years. When we did our first coach development out there last May, now that seemed to like get the ball rolling, and so we just want to kind of like lead on that again. So we're probably going to be looking at maybe doing one out in Ireland later in the year as well.
Okay,
I'll keep
let
you.
me know because if there's anything I can do to help out on that side of things, happy to help out. I know I'm not a seminar staff or anything like that, but if there's anything else I can support you in, definitely willing to do that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, well, I mean, in regards to that, coaching at an affiliate is probably the most beneficial thing for affiliate owners. The education part is something which is, enhances and allows for, let's
Mhm.
say great delivery. But, in terms of the experiential thing, I think, it's very, what we have found is that people are doing it on a day out, day in basis at a gym, at an affiliate,
Mhm.
super important as well. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think the other thing is I run coaches gatherings here in the Netherlands, which is just groups of coaches coming together to learn from each other, do workshops, work out together and stuff. And it is so clear. I was in a new area on Saturday, and it's so clear so few people have ever experienced good coaching, not even exceptional coaching, good coaching. That they have no idea that they are that what they're doing. It's everybody's safe, but it's not good. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I must shoot.
Right.
Right. Very much, Farran. All right. And
Yeah, my pleasure.
catch up with you soon. Cheers, Gar. I'll be
Yeah,
in.
and Gareth, just big hugs to Adele. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm
Okay.
going to go home now and yeah, check everything's been okay for the last couple of hours.
Bye, guys.
Speak soon, guys. Bye.